One of Vincennes, Indiana's worst blasts happened January 12, 1950. The Bowman Terrace home blows up and 2 mothers and 3 children were killed. State Fire Marshal says preliminary investigation shows gas accumulation under cement floor set off by unknown cause. Blame lack of air ventilation for city's worst tragedy. A 3-way investigation has begun to learn, if possible, the nature and cause of the explosion which demolished a double housing unit at 502 and 504 Bowman Terrace on Jefferson Street at 3:45 p.m., instantly killing 5 members of 2 families. Although the investigation was not completed, 2 officials, the state fire marshal and the county coroner, blamed an explosion of natural gas for the disaster. And sadly, the dead were Miss Wanda M. Cooper, 23, wife of Granville F. Cooper, a truck driver for the Bringwood Transfer Company, Charles Wayne Cooper, 5 years old, and Barbara Jo Cooper, 3 years old, children of Mr. and Mrs. Cooper. Miss Rose Ellen Overfelt, 23, wife of William Hewlin Overfelt, and Vicki June Overfelt, their 30-month-old daughter. Conducting the investigation, called by Dewey Shepard, City Fire Chief, are Alex Hauglin, State Fire Marshal, Delbert Tafflinger, Chief Deputy from the Fire Marshal's Office, and Hugh Miller, Deputy Field Examiner for the State Fire Marshal's Office, who has been in Vincennes for the past week to conduct safety measures during the flood emergency. The investigation is expected to result in learning whether the explosion resulted from accumulation of natural gas or sewer gas under the concrete floor of the duplex structure, whether possibly expanding itself up through the concrete block walls and was ignited by some unknown cause, or from an explosion inside one of the other of the 2 units. The destruction is complete. Only crumbled bits of concrete structure and splintered bits of timber littered the spot where the houses sheltering the 2 families lived. State Fire Marshal Hyland at noon said that the investigation thus far indicated that the explosion resulted from an accumulation of gas under the concrete floor of the house and that there was a lack of ventilation beneath the floor to carry it off. He said the investigation disclosed that at least 2 of the grates below the concrete floor of the building had been closed. Other grates were demolished or blown away, but the fire marshal expressed his belief that these grates had also been closed, preventing the circulation of the air beneath the house. He said the gas did not necessarily come from the line under the house, which was blown up. He said there might have been a leak elsewhere accumulated through the field upon which the house were constructed. He said there was an accumulation beneath the Cooper and Overfelt house which became confined and was touched off in some manner which may probably never be determined. It was definitely established by the investigation that the explosion had occurred beneath the concrete floor of the house. Marshal Holland said it was the nature of the construction that resulted in such a complete demolition. He said that had there been a wooden floor in the house, the blast might have blown up part of the floor without causing such a complete destruction. He discredited reports that escaping gas had gone up the concrete block walls and insisted that the gas which caused the explosion was confined beneath the floor of the house. Marshal Holland said the investigators were informed by both Granville Cooper and William H. Overfelt that at various times they had detected the odor of gas. However, there was no evidence that any complaints had been made. John Snyder, manager of the housing unit, said no complaints had been made to him, nor was any made to Fire Chief Shepard. Robert Webb of the Chicago office of the Federal Housing Authority, here to conduct an investigation, said Friday afternoon he would withhold the statement until officials of the Housing Authority arrived here from Washington to further aid in the investigation. He said there was no belief that anything but gas had caused the explosion, but there was uncertainty whether it was accumulated sewer or natural gas. Paul Strait, county coroner, said Friday afternoon that he was not yet completed his investigation, but the facts to present to the present time have influenced him to the extent that his verdict will be death from an explosion of accumulated city or natural gas under the floor of the house. How the gas was ignited, he said, will probably never be determined. He said that occupants of the duplex, which was demolished by the blast, told him that at various times they could detect the odor of gas gas. The coroner said he had ruled out entirely any possibility that the explosion might have resulted from accumulated sewer gas. Contents of the houses were scattered over an area of more than a block. A mattress was found in a tree half a block from the spot where the explosion occurred. A refrigerator was blown atop an automobile in the driveway west of the demolished house. Clothing and other articles from the home were swaying from a telephone line at the rear of the house as it hung there after a family washing. A bathtub was blown completely out of the house. The concrete floor of the building buckled, and a hole fully 3 feet deep was blown into the ground, catching the pile of rubbish and litter. The explosion, the worst in the recent history of Vincennes, occurred at an hour unofficially set at 3:45 p.m. In a matter of only a few minutes, rescue workers, including soldiers from Fort Knox, sent there to aid the battle against the Wabash River flood, and the civilians were in the pile of rubbish searching for bodies of the victims of the blast. Within a short time, 5 mangled and battered bodies of the victims were extricated and placed on litters and carried to waiting ambulances to be removed to morgues. 2 of the first to arrive at the scene of the tragic blast were Sergeant Paul Keene, a Vincennes boy, here with the contingent of 950 soldiers from Fort Knox, and Captain James Compton of the Army Medical Department. Sergeant Keene told a Sun Commercial reporter he and the Captain Compton were down on the river wall 3 blocks away taking pictures of the flood. We were stunned by the terrific explosion, Sergeant Keene said. Turning around, he saw the air filled with flying dust and debris. He ran to the scene and jumped in, assisting in the work of removing bodies of the victims. Sergeant Keene said he and Captain Compton uncovered and removed the mangled bodies of a woman and a small child. John Sandifer and Kenneth Briners, who were driving about a block away when the explosion occurred, rushed to the scene and began digging for bodies of the victims. Firemen said other rescue workers were at first hampered by blaze emitting from the broken end of the gas main in the debris of the Cooper and Overfelt homes. The blaze threatened to ignite the litter of timbers blown beneath the house. The fire was finally extinguished, and eventually the gas was turned off. Police Chief James F. Harlow sent a request to Mayor William Justice for a contingent of 50 soldiers to be rushed to the scene to assist in the work of clearing away the debris. Within a matter of only a few minutes, the soldiers were there and started their work, which continued for several hours. Soldiers who relieved local police of traffic duty, and in a matter of few hours had restricted the area, refusing admission to curiosity seekers. Police and soldiers for a time experienced difficulty in keeping the crowd back from the spot where their presence was interfering with the rescue work. Damage from the explosion was extended to adjacent houses. The west side of the home occupied by Miss Wayne Finke, 506 Bowman Terrace, was blown in. Miss Finke and her 5-month-old son, Michael, had left home a few minutes earlier to go to the home of their grandmother.